Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. A family of actors gets together for a birthday and is haunted not just by the way they treat each other, and especially their non-actor mother and wife, but also by an actual apparition. The directorial debut from Bridey Elliott is a family affair, as her mother, sister, and father are all played by her actual family members. The result is hilarious, creepy, and a lot of fun. Let's take a look at Clara's ghost.
If there's someone here with us, please make a noise. Any noise will do. Oh. What? Oh, God! Did you hear that? Something's with us.
Do you know anything about the woman who lived in this house?
She was the crazy one, right?
Crazy how?
They sent her to a mental institution.
I've been seeing this woman around. She seems to go wherever I go.
Maybe you guys could be friends.
I think that would be weird at this point.
Let me in.
Oh, God, please tell me he's not sending you poetry on Facebook.
They're all making fun of you! Stop making fun of me!
Let's go down and blow our minds in toyland, in toyland, land. 'Cause late at night they all change, and before it's light they rearrange. They've all been down and blown their minds.
I met someone in the house. She's sick. She's not well.
In toyland, land.
Everybody, please welcome Chris Elliott, Paula Niedert Elliott, and writer-director Bridey Elliott of Clara's Ghost. Thank you so much for being here. Congratulations.
Yes, thank you.
Congratulations. Are mom and dad proud?
Oh my gosh.
I hope so.
Are you kidding?
Yes, we
Put
are.
them in it just to make sure that they would be proud at the end of
Exactly.
it. Yeah.
Just constantly need your approval. So,
Right. You're
have it now?
still looking for it.
All right.
Yeah. No, you got it, honey.
Have mine.
Paul, what was this like for you? You were an actress when you were younger. You haven't done it in years. You have a family of
Right.
actors.
Yeah.
And Bridey comes to you and says, I want to make a movie with you as the star.
We said yes, and I thought it'll never happen because most projects that are talked about don't happen.
So you were like, I'll say yes, but then they'll probably end up
Absolutely,
getting
like
somebody else to play me.
And then as it got
No.
closer,
yeah.
no, I thought
She thought the whole movie was never
I
gonna
just
happen.
thought it would never happen because
that's fair.
That's
When
usually how it is.
And when you're around creatives all the time, creatives are like, I've got a new idea and it's going to be the biggest one. And
Yes.
yeah,
2 weeks later, you have another one.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
So-
then as it got closer and we knew it was coming, it was like, crunch time. I have to get myself together. I have to get the house together. And then they came in and redid everything anyways.
So for you, it was like having a holiday dinner or something. You
Yeah,
were like, I've got to
or,
get some nice
like-
clothes, got to clean up.
Yeah,
everything.
and the house was going to be in a movie, so it was really intimidating.
Were you nervous at all?
I was nervous about my ability to remember lines, and that was actually okay because,
What about being directed
with this
by
company.
your daughter?
well, we have a nice rapport that we've worked on for 28 years, so it was fine. It was comfortable.
I would not be able to direct my mom. Mom, come on! Like there would be a threshold of embarrassment and like easy frustration that I reached where I couldn't be patient to direct. But you were okay?
I think so.
She was.
Yeah.
She called me Mom. She didn't call me Paula.
Yeah, I didn't do anything weird or creepy to you.
No.
I don't
You weren't
think.
like, this is a business relationship now, so
Yeah.
let's exchange the family names.
We had some tense
We had
moments,
some
I
tense
think.
moments.
Yeah. Well, wanting me to read the script was the first thing, and I just said, that is not how I work. I'm
Yeah.
not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, it was so easy, and I mean, partly because we were in our own home and our own family, and Bridey's friends were really doing a lot of the work. Your producer and cameraman and all that, and so it did kind of feel like a long night at home, just having fun.
Yeah, there was a summer camp aspect to all of it. And, I've worked with my dad and my sister before, and my mother. My mom played my mom in a really small indie movie that never really came out. like 5 years ago, and so I was I feel like that sparked like in me, wanting to work with her again because she was so good, and I was like, oh, my mom still has this acting bug inside of her, but it was a really natural process. We're all very close. We could work on boundaries maybe in the future.
think
Well, that's
so.
a lot of what the
Well, we're not
movie
very
is
close
about.
now
Yeah,
after shooting
that's
it,
true.
But
Right, there's a reason one of you isn't here. But the movie is very much about boundaries between
Yeah.
these people. And we were kind of talking about this in the green room. How much did you mine and exaggerate your personal lives with each other? And were you afraid of that? Because as much as anything you write is going to have a little of you in it, I'm sure this has a lot of all of you in it, whether it was meant to or not.
Yeah, I mean, I think we just really turned the volume up on the dark aspects of ourselves and what this business that we're in can do to your sense of self. And, we became these dark caricatures. And then it wasn't really until after when, the movie got into Sundance was the first thing. And that was like, oh, people are actually going to see this. And having
it's
that
about you.
question. Yeah, I didn't really think about it until after because that's just how I'm just kind of a dull bulb. So I didn't really think about it. I just kind of wanted to do an experiment with my family, and we had all these resources. We had this house that we, wanted to shoot in. My family are actors, and I have this idea for this sort of modern Long Day's Journey into Night movie with a ghost.
Was that something after you saw the movie or after it got into Sundance? Did you find that a lot of people were asking you about, like, is this what you're actually like as a dad?
oh yeah, no, that and it's a common question now from people that see the movie. But
Doing a variation of it at the moment.
I know
Just a little bit better.
but you are asking it.
Yes, I am.
But you're being whimsical and lyrical about it. It's really beautiful to watch.
And the answer is yes. I'm exactly like the guy in the movie. No, like Bridey said, I think we tuned up the sort of negative aspects of ourselves. And like I was saying in the green room, Paula's character is very different than Paula. I think our characters are kind of these exaggerated versions of us, but Paula is the only one in the movie acting. The rest of us are just kind of
Showboating
hams. Yes, exactly.
But it does seem you are the one member of the family in reality who is not part of the business right now, acting.
Right.
Does it feel a little? Did it feel like some of the story kind of came from growing up around that or that dynamic?
Yeah, I think she felt like I was probably. I think Bridey had some sort of pity for my life, that I wasn't in.
Okay.
A business where I was rewarded a lot. And that can happen, or complimented. The truth is, I didn't care. I really,
You are so good in this movie, Paul.
oh, thank you. No, I get it.
You actually are, and I just
are.
wanted to compliment you.
I thought you were just being sincere, but.
I think
little
we're
bit
all
of both.
very taken with you right now, is the vibe that I'm getting from where I'm sitting.
No, I didn't regret not getting that kind of attention that,
And I
they've
don't,
gotten.
yeah.
And a
I
lot
don't
of the
think it-
attention that I've gotten has not been good. So that's not really the attention you want.
I don't think it sprang from pity for my mother. I think it did spring more from this kind of idea that when you're with your family, you regress to these, roles that were kind of set for you when you were born. You kind of are born into family dynamics, good or bad, and you have to become conscious of them in order to grow out of them. And I think this movie, is playing with that. These people that are kind of just stuck in these roles, and then having that be kind of a microcosm for the entertainment industry that also kind of plugs you into these roles that you might, not want to be in your whole life.
Yeah, and there's the element of like being seen and not being seen. And that's a theme all through Clara's Ghost. There's a poignant sequence when a photographer comes to take photos of, the acting people in the family and, asks the mom to step away from the shot, but no one else can see the woman that she sees. So that whole thing of being seen and not seen, I think, is sort of a...
And my mother, you know, and all moms, I think, are often the butt of the joke. They're just the punchline for some reason, and
Yeah,
they
I
just
thought that
take
was
that
really poignant.
responsibility for, you know, no reason whatsoever. It's just kind of they're in that role, so it's okay. They'll give you love no matter what. And I think that too was, you know, a big part of just consciously like, why is it always the mom that has to then, you know, take all of our bullshit? I'm sorry, I said bullshit.
No, you can curse. It's okay.
Oh, okay. What else should I say?
What was the toughest part about the shoot? How long was it?
The shoot was 17 days, and it was super fast. The toughest part was probably not having a lot of time, which I think, you know, in hindsight, really lent itself to creating this snapshot of the family and making it a time capsule. And, you know, we edited it for the Sundance deadline in 3 weeks. And it was like, I had like a hot spot. Like I was like sick for like 3 months. Like my body was like, you should be a hot spot, like what dogs get when they've been itching
You got a hot spot?
Well, I
I didn't know either, but I just sort of let it go.
I don't think you
it was an exaggeration. I was feeling like a dying animal, I guess, was the metaphor there, not to talk about dying animals for too long on this show. But
You can curse, but no giant
not
animal
funny.
talk. Sorry,
Right.
that's where we cut it off.
Hot spot.
but yeah, I felt like I was, you know, going feral editing for 3 weeks. Anyway, yeah, the hardest part was the time aspect. We just didn't have a lot of it, and it was kind of awesome to be shooting in Connecticut because not a lot was filming there. The places that we filmed in restaurants are places that, you know, we've gone and all gotten drunk at together, and they were like happy to be like, hey, yeah, put a camera here while you're at it. Like, you know, they were very hospitable, so that was amazing. But I would say the time thing, you know, it was a lot of pressure to work under in a way, but it felt like a summer camp challenge at the end of the day. So
You know, there's a scene in the film, and I'm so sorry, I hate to harp on any kind of like personal versus what's on screen, where you are talking about how you are better because you are more obsessed with process than your sister is, and you actually care about how, basically how the sausage is made, and she
Yes.
just wants to be on camera.
right.
Is that, I mean, that feels like a real conversation in a bad argument that you may have thrown out.
I don't know if that was like an argument really. It's my sister and I definitely just, I think, go about the business differently, you know, and like, you know, I don't know, good and whatever ways, different ways, like we all do.
Right.
We've all kind of approached the business with our own kind of priorities set for ourselves, and I think we're all self-aware enough where nothing has really been argued about because we all feel like it's crazy that we do this stuff anyway. So, you know.
We have a lot in common, too.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we all enjoy being a little bit on the fringe, or at least doing something that isn't necessarily what the mainstream is doing. That's the spin.
But absolutely. I mean, I don't think a family would get together and make this film if they didn't enjoy sort
Right.
of poking fun at yourself as well as the business.
As
that
well
you're
as the business, yeah.
Yeah.
And it's, you know, it is a tough business. You know, when our daughters decided to go into it, it wasn't that we were unhappy about it, but we knew, you know, it's tougher on women than it is on guys, and it's a tough business to begin with. But they saw the ups and downs in my career, and you know, they went into it, I think, with a sense of reality.
And Abby is a very thoughtful performer.
Oh, yeah.
And she takes it very seriously. And I just, you know, when she did Saturday Night Live, she was the youngest woman ever to be cast. And she really was strong through that process.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I think
it wasn't easy.
the business has like affected us all differently. So we
Yeah.
all have really different perspectives on it, but similar, you know,
Right.
which is to not take it seriously. Whereas I feel like the characters in this film are very identified with their, star
Egos.
meter. Their
Yeah.
egos.
Their lives and their personalities are essentially built around whatever is happening in the business.
Yes,
Right.
exactly.
I mean, I wonder if you cast Haley Joel Osment in the film. He's wonderful in all these parts that he's been getting and doing these kind of small parts. But I wonder if he also lent a bit of a voice to what we're talking about right now, having grown up in the business and having kind of ups and downs, and then sort of changing his career completely to go from like a big child star to someone who wants to do comedy movies and weird indie films.
Comedy and weird indie movies and like plays. He's really, he was in a movie with my sister, Sex Ed, a few years ago, and my sister did had a wedding at my parents' house, and Haley was there, and I saw him, drunk with all of us, and I was like, oh, he should be in the movie. He's like family, he's perfect, and he was getting on your nerves at some point. No, I'm just kidding.
Well-
he had like smashed an ashtray or something.
No, he downed a glass of champagne and then just smashed it down.
It was at a point of
Just for
right in
comedic,
front of me, and I just went,
dramatic
all
effect.
right, okay.
On camera or just
No, this was
no.
Because
This
it
was
was
like
a-
a this was
like
like
a wedding?
Yeah, we were just having
5
some.
a.m.
There was nothing.
the day after like 5 a.m. that night.
Yeah.
or morning. Yeah.
We weren't even talking. We were just sipping our
Dramatic
champagne next to
impact.
each other, and he just went. And that was kind of nice.
That was
Haley
kind of
knows how to
it. That's how
party.
he. That's
he
how he was
does.
cast. He was just. Yeah. He was. There was a part of me where I was like, well, will people think it's winky that I cast Haley Joel Osment, which is really not what the intention was in casting with
Winky how? I didn't.
Winky. That like, oh, he's a child star. Or he was a child star, and like this is about, child. My sister and I play former child stars.
Right.
And there is a ghost, a dead person in it that he doesn't see.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so we've been getting like people making jokes about
Yeah.
that, like, oh, does he finally see dead people or finally
So
not see
strange.
dead
I
people?
feel so far, as much as he was a child star, I feel so far removed from that period of his
Totally.
career that I don't
Yeah.
even necessarily make those. Maybe
No.
I'm the dull bulb here, but I don't even make those connections.
No, and I wouldn't either. It's just more like, silly producer brain of, people.
He's my friend, and we'll do the movie.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly.
He's also great. He's also so
is.
good.
I mean, he's amazing.
Yeah,
so-
yeah.
And you have a really wonderful flirtation with him
No.
throughout. I mean, that for a while, for a little while.
I know.
What was it like doing those scenes with him?
Well, it was really, I was so intimidated by it because it's so far removed from anything I would do to hit on a 29-year-old at my age. And
You say that, and you've been saying that, but I
no, it
tend to
really
disagree with
was.
you.
And so I was, Bridey put that toward the end of the shooting schedule so I would have time to get to know him and, feel a little more comfortable.
But I will say, after an intimate scene with Haley Joel, like, my mom had swagger on set. She really took in, like, she was the lead.
It was because I got through it.
Yes.
And,
A new woman, a confident
Yeah.
woman walking around the
Yeah.
set.
yeah,
It was just,
no.
I'm every woman. It would just come on.
Feel like
Yeah.
Let's get some
Oh, God.
questions from the audience. I apologize for doing Shania Twain to everybody.
Hi.
Hi.
Chris, you've done a bunch of comedies and sort of creepy roles. I was wondering, do you guys feel that horror and comedy work together naturally, or was it hard to combine them two in the movie?
I thought that Bridey found a way to combine the two of them. And I think, and I don't want to speak for you, but I've heard you say that, like, Rosemary's Baby, was a horror movie that had a lot of comedy in it. There were a lot of, like, funny characters. And I think if I had been working back then, I would have auditioned for, the guy who plays the flute or something in that movie.
Savetti is very funny in that movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so it's not the kind of thing that you would think would work well together, but Bridey found a way to do it, and just like in Rosemary's Baby.
I would also say, like, when someone says that this is a comedy and horror hybrid, I don't necessarily think I'd agree with that, and I think that's the wrong sell for this movie,
Right.
because the comedy in itself can be so awkward that it's horrifying,
Right.
and the horror can be so strange and awkward alone that can be funny. It's not necessarily like one moment there's a joke and the next minute there's a scare.
Yes.
Right,
Yeah.
and I've never, for a guy I've been lucky enough to have a career in comedy, I've never really enjoyed comedies. I prefer comedy coming out of, drama. I prefer somebody acting funny as opposed to jokes, I guess, is what I like better.
Yeah, I think I tried to find, it was really in the edit that we found the temperature that was right for it. I knew I was playing, I wanted it to be a blend of genres. It is a family drama and there's comedy element, but the comedy is so seated in darkness, which I think is kind of the, part of the bigger soul of the movie is just, kindness in families is needed and kindness towards mothers are needed. But
Everyone.
for everyone, totally. I'm not excluding anyone when I say everyone needs kindness. But yeah, I think it was more of a edit thing in terms of trying to get those scares to actually really hit and trying to get people to just feel on edge, the whole time.
And I was surprised when there were laughs when we saw it at Sundance. In certain places.
Right.
I was like, oh, yeah, I guess that is weirdly funny.
Yes.
Yeah, that makes sense. But at the time, I didn't, I thought we were just playing it straight.
Yeah.
Are you the same as your father, where you like comedy that comes from generally things that aren't necessarily supposed to be funny? Or, 'cause I've found that my favorite kind of comedians are people who've made my favorite funny work, like yours. Generally, when you ask them what their favorite movies are, they're not like, Stripes. They're usually like Taxi Driver. Right. And I'm
Right.
like, well, yeah. And I would say that Taxi Driver is also a really funny movie at
Yes.
times.
Yes.
But are you kind of like that as well when you think about the movies that entertain you the most and make you laugh,
Yeah.
are not necessarily the biggest, broadest comedy?
Yeah, totally. No, I think it has a lot to do with character and just fleshed out dark characters that have the whole scope of weirdness and sadness. I think that, those are what make good movies, and funny comes from, just naturally living in that, which I think that's, we tried to do, like living in the movie.
Well, it
kind
was
of
hard not to. It was our house.
Basically, yeah, sorry. But yeah, totally.
The wonderful scene where Abby delivers a monologue and you beg her to do, and then you respond by criticizing the director who has cast her for that monologue and saying that it's not really your thing.
Right.
Basically is excruciating and funny at the same time.
No, but you're right. Like Taxi Driver wasn't just Albert Brooks. He wasn't just the comic relief in that movie.
Yeah.
All of the befuddled, dumb moments that De Niro has
De
are
Niro
hilarious.
buying that album, and then taking her to that movie.
A lot of couples go to these movies. I don't know.
Yeah,
Do you not
I'm
like
sorry.
these kinds of It's
No,
hilarious. Yeah. We have a question from Twitter. This is from Paula. The question is, was it harder or easier to act in the same scene with Chris Bridey or Abby?
Same.
Which one was it harder or easier to act with?
Oh yeah.
Who's the better actor,
Who's
basically? is
the
what they're
better
asking.
actor? Me, your one daughter, your youngest, who you love so
I
much.
had a hard time not laughing at Chris in the scene where Haley Joel comes
The
in
story
and
of our
wants a Moscow Mule. I you can kind of see me like holding back a laugh.
No.
I can, but yeah. No, they were all the same. They were all easy to work with. No.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Paula, you love the press tour, don't you? There's a reason you didn't get into the business, isn't there?
Truly, this.
But we've
Yeah.
been having fun.
No, we have.
Been snacking on
I'm not
good
used to
snacks
this, but, yeah.
backstage and yeah.
I think we have time for 2 more questions. Hi.
Hey guys, thanks so much for being here today. I can't wait to see the flick. It looks amazing. I want to fanboy out for a second, and I feel like I'd be remiss if we did not mention, I'm sure Ricky is with me here, the 25th anniversary of Cabin Boy is coming up in 2019. Any plans for reboots, sequels, musical on ice, anything like that?
No plans for a reboot. That won't be happening. It is out on Blu-ray.
Oh my.
With a lot of extras. Adam Resnick and I did a lot of interviews and stuff. The only thing I've heard about the 25th so far is that somebody in Memphis wants to bring Adam and me down there and have a festival. So we might do that.
Let's go down to Memphis.
All right. Sounds
there.
like
Thanks,
fun.
man.
But thank you for bringing that up. 25 years ago?
25 years, can you believe that?
Yeah, it seems like it was 40 years ago to me, but
Just a wee lad, you know?
Chris, what is it like to have something like Cabin Boy have lived on like this? Someone just brought up the 25-year anniversary. The Blu-ray was done. You were asked to, provide commentary or whatever, and you're going down to Memphis. Yet, when the movie was released, I can't imagine you ever thought it would live beyond that moment.
No, I was hoping it wouldn't live beyond that moment. The movie was vilified. I mean, it was, and it's very rewarding now to have people like you, to have fans who, enjoy that movie. And I stand by the movie. So does Adam. It's, short. So that's good. I don't know. When that movie came out, there's nothing really. It was different than any other comedy. A lot of comedies at the time were kind of like the Jim Carrey sort of comedies at the time that were out. Liar, Liar, Mask, those kind of things. Those were the movies people were going to and laughing at and enjoying. There was nothing in Cabin Boy to enjoy. It was essentially an attack. It was a very aggressive movie. It's kind of sort of an ugly movie, except for Melora Walters. The rest of us are pretty, gross looking in it. So there isn't a lot of eye candy, that would attract anybody to it.
I really hope there's footage of your press tour for this movie when it was released.
No, but I think that's what I don't think people had back then necessarily the patience for what Cabin Boy was doing. I think nowadays people do, and I think people are actually discovering it, which is interesting to me, and like I said, extremely gratifying.
I think you find that often when it comes to comedies that are confrontational or way off the beaten path in tone. You look back at reviews of movies like that, and critics never really understand comedies like that.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I made people mad. And I think, it made people angry, I think, because it wasn't, just this, sort of Jim Carrey comedy. It was this very weird, attempt at trying to combine, sort of Sinbad Ray Harryhausen special effects with a Rudyard Kipling type story. And
Hilarious.
Yeah.
What
that was the pitch.
Last question. What did this?
That's
how did
when I promoted it for Dave on Letterman. I remember he actually said, "And this is something you think people want to see?" And I was like, "I don't know."
How did the studio respond when you screened it for them for the first time?
The first screening I was not at, Adam went to it, and it was dismal. And it was the only response they had was cut it, keep cutting it, cut it, cut it, cut it. And so it got cut down to, I think it's like 90 minutes, maybe 85 minutes long now. Yeah, they and they were probably right. It needed to be as short as possible, but it baffled them as much as it did, critics and the general public.
I think we have time for one more question.
Hi, guys. Thanks
Hi.
for being here. So you talked a little bit before about sort of your relationship with working with one another, but I was wondering, being, family and now like working together, did you sort of learn anything new about each other from working together on the film as a whole?
Well, I think it's cool that we can do it. I don't think we knew that before we really did it as a family.
Right.
I've worked with my dad and I worked with my mom and my sister all separately on various things, but this was sort of truly us shedding a skin and being vulnerable. And I think it's fun that we're getting positive reaction to it because it was a risk.
Well, that's
that we all kind of took together.
Regardless of what people's reaction to the movie is, the fact that we did it, that you did it, that you've pulled this out of
He's my dad,
nothing,
so, yeah.
and then we're there on set, and I'm looking over, and Bridey has headphones on. She's watching a monitor and watching my wife do a scene, and like
I was listening
nodding
to
and
Slipknot.
I know you weren't.
Like, rebel.
It's just like what Bridey said, that we could actually do it, I think, is what we learned. And that's great. It certainly is for me at my age to realize we could do something different like that.
Did you ever have a moment where you teared up, where you looked over and you saw her running the set and running the crew and giving direction?
No, I don't think I teared up at all. No, I think I was just totally, I never had a doubt that she could do it or couldn't do it, but just proud. I was proud. I'm tearing up now.
And there was a great celebratory feeling when it was done. And because it was 17 long
Grueling
days.
schedule.
We finished at 8 in the morning the last night, and we had started at like 4 in the afternoon before. So it was just a relief to know that it was possible.
It's all gone.
I think our neighbors were relieved also.
Yeah.
The lights were down.
Well, congratulations. There's a lot to be proud of. It's a wonderful film. Congratulations, Bridey. It comes out in theaters, right, on the 6th, and then it will be on demand.
On Amazon and iTunes on the 7th.
On the 7th, and it's called Clara's Ghost. Everybody give them a big round of applause. Let's hear it.
Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.